having those friendships that came together from very different places has really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and illuminated things about myself where, areas where I need to grow, or just made life richer.
Welcome to She Leads, a podcast about leadership, faith, and relationships. I'm your host, Thea, and I'm so glad that you joined in today. Thank you for continuing to be a part of this conversation. I am so thrilled and excited about how much encouragement and support this little dream of mine is getting. And today I want to, again, continue to invite you into the conversation. Each week I try and read a comment from one of you who have reached out and spoken up about what you are seeing and witnessing in this show. Today the comment comes from Gina regarding our, from Chelsea regarding our Faith Honestly episode. Chelsea said, Gina's illustrations truly are remarkable. She knows how to make you envision what she is saying and feeling. And I love that Chelsea shared that, because that's exactly what I tell Gina all the time, is that she has such a beautiful way of illustrating her thoughts. And I'm glad that Chelsea was able to connect with that as well. Again, I invite you to share your comments, your feedback, your questions. Send those directly to me at sheleadscomments@gmail.com and join the conversation. Today, I'm really, really excited to welcome two of my very dear friends. I call them my seminary sisters, Reverend Kate Flint and Reverend Lataya Simpson, who is here today to share and talk about friendships and really just the power that friendships bring to our lives. And so I want to let them introduce yourself. Kate, why don't you go first? And then
Sure. Hi, I'm Reverend Kate Flint, and I am currently serving as one of the associate pastors at St. Paul's United Methodist Church in Houston. My primary area of ministry is children's ministry and special needs ministry, and then I do a little bit of everything there.
And I'm Lataya Simpson. I serve at St. Matthew's United Methodist Church as the senior pastor there, and so I lead all the things, as we say. I preach every Sunday, and I am excited to be able to start new ministries and support our ministry team in the endeavors that we do successfully and that we want to do even better.
Awesome. So I kind of gave a spoiler. We are friends. We've been friends for several years. We met in seminary quite a while ago. But why did you say yes to the podcast today?
Well, I said yes to the podcast because I absolutely love it. I love She Leads podcast. You do a great job with it, Thea. And my background is in broadcast before I was a journalist. And so being in front of a microphone, I'll always say yes to that. But especially because it's you and because of what this show represents, offering the world an opportunity to hear the voice of women leaders of diverse voices, diverse areas, not just in the church, but in other areas as well. I love that. And so I commend you for what you're doing. And I thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
So I have half same, half opposite answer. That as a listener and as a friend, I have enjoyed getting to know you in that different way through hearing the podcast, as well as your guests on here. Less comfortable in front of microphones and recording and all of that. I'm a live theater person, not a recording. But I was excited to be on here, especially hearing the topic of friendship because of what we'll talk about in a little bit, what this relationship has meant.
Yeah. Well, thank you both again. It really, really warms my heart that I could not only share this with you, but that you would be receptive and even willing to, even if it's step outside of your comfort zone or just travel a little bit to come all the way to Pearland and record. So thank you so very much. I just want to jump right in. Let's talk about our friendship. How do you remember the three of us meeting? What are your memories about that?
Well, seminary, we were taking a fantastic class called Spiritual Formation. And while I wasn't super excited about the class initially, being a part of it with you and Kate and the other people, we called it our Sisters in the Boat. There were only women in this group, and there were only about 7 of us, and the instructor was female. And we learned so much about ourselves and about worship and ways to honor the self. And we shared our stories. And when we shared our stories, we found ways to relate with each other. And Thea, you and I related very well right away, and we both made a decision to be friends with each other. And so we followed through with that decision for almost 10 years, which is phenomenal. I remember we were very intentional about it. I want to make friends, and we did. So thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Yeah, thank you. What do you remember, Kate?
So I think about the first time we met, really as a group, was the spiritual retreat that kicked off the year of spiritual formation. And this was actually at the church I'm serving now is where we took our classes. And the room we were in is called the parlor, and it is the grandma's antique furniture room. It's the fanciest room in the building. And so we sat in the parlor every week in this class, and really dove in deep from the beginning, praying with each other, crying with each other. From that first weekend retreat, walking the labyrinth together and being in prayer, and then just doing life together through this first year of seminary and talking about what that felt like. But when we met, because it was the beginning of a new thing, we were in school together. We were in a place, I think, or at least I was, where I was learning so much and growing so rapidly because of the pace of being in school, that I was open to new things at that point in a way I haven't been at a lot of other points in my life. And I was looking for who are the people that are going to journey with me. And that happened to be this group of 6 women, plus our professor guiding us along. And it was a really special time then. And maintaining that friendship through the years has reminded me of the expectation of learning and growing that we started together and we continue to do together.
Yeah. So. I think I've shared before, but I remember when I finished my undergrad, which I finished as a working person, so going in the evenings and things like that, I did not make one friend. I had a goal. I came and did my work, and I went home and did the rest of my work. And I remember that last final, kind of weeks before graduation in my undergrad, looking around the room, I know maybe these ladies' names, but I don't have a phone number. We're not even Facebook friends. We do not, and so when I started seminary a year later, I remember being very intentional. I am not going to leave this place with no friends. I do also remember feeling very, very vulnerable, very out of place. I might have shared with you before that the whole first semester, I just kept waiting for someone to come tap me on the shoulder and be like, come on, get out of here. Come on. Come on. You don't belong here. Come on. What are you doing? We got you.
I think we all were waiting for that tap.
Yes.
I think we all had that common feeling of, imposter syndrome, of wondering, am I really supposed to be here? And so I related well with that feeling. I was a stay-at-home mom, and coming out of the home with 2 kids and eventually 3 kids into seminary with all of these people who seemed so much more professional than I felt at the time. And I was an older student. I was already, I'd already had a career, and I had given up that career to be at home with my kids. And so I felt very out of place, but I knew God was calling me to do this, and I knew God was calling me to these people. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I remember definitely a lot of comparison, and feeling, maybe not necessarily just from you, but the whole I'm I'm not as smart as these people. I'm not as well, connected to God. And I know that knowing Kate was in children's ministry, which is what I had felt really called to at the time, definitely was a lot of comparison. And I only bring that up to say, I think as we all were willing to really show up, there was oh, she's struggling too. Oh, she doesn't have everything all together. Or, we actually have more in common with our struggles or just our reality. I don't even want to call it struggles, just the reality of being human. And when we were able to bring that vulnerability, it was kind of what am I, let's see that. Let's connect on that and not worry. It's not a competition out there. And we could say now, these so many years later, there's not enough pastors. So it's not a competition. We need more, And so, I just remember, and also feeling like you mentioned, Lataya, there was this willingness to say, I'm going to really try at this. I'm really going to show up. I'm really going to be honest. I'm going to answer my phone. I'm going to listen, like just that intentionality. I really felt it. And it sounds like we maybe all needed it.
Yeah.
At that time, and we're willing to receive it. What about, let's fast forward. So we met all those years ago. Why have you stayed friends? Why do we still say yes? Why do we still try? What's the impact?
I think having this relationship has added a steadiness to my life. I was trying to think of the right word. I think steadiness is something, there's that dependable relationship that, somebody I can call when I'm having a terrible day, or who somehow knows I'm having a terrible day and texts me out of the blue and like, hey, I'm thinking about you today. Are you okay? No, I'm not. How did you know? And this happens. But having the accountability of strong, faithful women that I can say, hey, here, talk me down. What's happening here? Can I explain what's going on in my life? And you add some wisdom to this, or at least just pray with me. It's been necessary for going, through the stresses of ministry and life. We've all had a lot of life changes and events since we got started here. And so I think that's been the big thing, the accountability of people that'll call me on things if I'm moving in the wrong direction, but also that unconditional support.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. And some of what you touched on earlier, the being dedicated to, I'm going to answer this call. I'm going to respond to this text message. And so in our circle, we never left each other hanging. Mm-hmm. We never left each other feeling that one person's voice was more important than the other, or we brought our best selves even when we were in our worst place. And we were able to do that and feel safe and loved and show love. And I feel chills right now, getting a little emotional, because friendship, it does mean so much to me. And my first year in seminary, one of my closest friends passed away from a rare form of kidney cancer. And so y'all were walking with me through that. Mm-hmm. And just last year, my oldest friend passed away unexpectedly, just out of the blue. She was at work and passed away at our desk. And so to know that I have these true blue friends that I can always call on and lean on and cry with and laugh with and eat pizza with. And I really appreciate it. And friendship takes work. Relationships take work. And I'm willing to put in the work that it takes to maintain friendships. And I choose, we don't, I saw a meme today. It says that we don't lose friends, we choose friends. And I obviously have lost some friends because of the end of life, but we don't lose friends. I choose you guys, and I'm going to chase you down if you stop answering your phone. And I'm grateful that we get to choose each other.
Yeah. Something for me, the impact, I think, is you both have continually shown up with honesty, and that because you've been a part of this journey, been able to point out those things. I'm remembering specifically, a few times, Kate and I, we talked about just about my preaching and how I remember one time you said something like, whoa, to watch you grow from those first, nervous sermons to now. Wow. And it just felt like that's honest, like it's authentic. You didn't need to tell me that. You're not someone who sits in the pews and, says good job every Sunday. You were able to witness that from afar even. And same with Lataya, when I was going to take over being a solo pastor, and I was petrified and just crying tears of fear. And I remember you took those tears and you anointed me and said, you got this. I've seen you. I'm not just saying this to, pop you up or make you feel better. Like, I've seen you. I've seen your growth. You're going to do this and it's going to be fine, And I know for me, that's probably been one of the greatest rewards and impacts, is that you have journeyed with me, and then you've been willing to point out that growth, and where you see you got, and I feel like you really mean it, because you've been there. You've you've answered the phone when it was like, I can't believe these people, whatever, and so that's been something that's been really, really impacted me in my life from this friendship in particular. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges, though. I mean, you kind of mentioned it takes time and energy, and especially as adults, like, what are some of the challenges to adult friendships?
Time.
Yes, that was the big thing I thought of first too.
Time is not always on our side for making new friends, and so if you're not really intentional about, I really want to make this new friend, we also get stuck in our ways. As malleable as I think I am, I really sometimes just want to do things my own way, and I want everyone else to do it my way too. So with new friendships, that does not work. You have to be willing to be flexible as much as you are vulnerable. And as we grow and learn, we have to learn how to be a person that, whether you're an old dog or not, you can learn new tricks. And so I'm constantly, my daughter is, I have 3 kids. The oldest is 12, and there's an 11-year-old. Yes, they're 16 months apart. And the youngest is 6 years old. My middle child teases me relentlessly that I get everyone's phone number when I go places. I don't go anywhere without getting someone's phone number. So I'm constantly trying to make friends. I'm not always successful, but I always try. I always try. And many of the people that I try with also try, but it's just not always a good fit. And the older we get, the more we realize that more quickly, I think. And as we get older, we might give up on people a little too quickly. Also, like, I don't have time for that kind of energy, or I don't want to deal with that person. And even me, we need to learn how to show a little bit more grace if we want those friendships in our lives, because we don't always say the right thing the first time, right? First impressions sometimes suck. So we need to learn how to be more gracious and more merciful. Just yesterday, I had a new friend that I met with, and they said the wrong thing. They absolutely said the wrong thing. And I thought to myself, well, that's not going to be my new bestie. And later I had to repent and pray and say, well, where's the grace? Maybe they stuck their foot in their mouth just like you do. And they might really need a friend. And if they need a friend, you can be their friend. Even if you don't mesh perfectly, you can have coffee and share dinner and be a shoulder to cry on, and cry on theirs too if they need it. It doesn't have to be a perfect fit. And so we have to be willing to be vulnerable and be gracious and merciful. That's so important. And that's what I remind myself of as well.
What about you, Kate? What are some challenges you find?
I think we are comparing the process of making friends to how easy it was when we were children. But, when you're in elementary school, you spend 8 hours a day in a room with, 20 other kids who are at the exact same age, stage of life, live in your neighborhood. You're doing clubs together. You're doing art class together. You're doing all of these things together. And it just kind of falls together, and it's easy. Often. I'm kind of a shy person. I'm an extrovert. I love people. I need people, but I'm shy. And so it is difficult for me to make those friends. But when you're forced into proximity with a lot of people in a similar space in life, that's a lot easier. And then, most of us in our workplaces, we don't have that same kind of same stage of life, same geographic location. In my workplace in Houston, we drive in from all over the place, and so it's not as easy to say, okay, well, let's walk here after school, or we go to the same stores, we go to the same clubs, but I think with that comes finding the common ground in different ways. We found a common ground in this pursuit of vocational ministry that can bring us together in different ways. That's not just because of the convenience of it, like when we were little and we could all play together at the designated playtime on the playground, that sort of thing.
Yeah, when I think about why people might shy away from real friendships today, I think, I think you both said it great. Obviously time. We've all got, how many times have I got time for a new friend? I got time for the friends I have, much less a new one. But then also that, again, it just takes work, and it takes a little bit more of that vulnerability and that willingness to show up. I often wonder too, if we really know how to make friends. Like, again, in school, it kind of just happens because you're all pushed into this pot together. I realized this, especially recently, someone who I have a distant connection with, and started like texting me, and I was kind of like, why is she texting me? Like, I don't. And then after the couple, I was like, oh, she wants to be my friend.
Hey.
She's trying, and actually this happened to me at the gym before, I'll come home like, this girl just like kept on talking to me, asking me all these questions. And my husband's like, she's trying to be your friend. And I'm like, oh, is that what she's doing? Oh, okay, I want a friend, I didn't even realize. And so I wonder if that's a piece of it too, that as adults, we really don't know how. And so even when it is happening, we're so like, standoffish or, finding reasons or just what is happening right now. And then realizing, oh, they're trying to, and maybe they don't really know what they're doing either, because I don't think there's really a way to like learn how to be friends. It just takes this vulnerability and honesty and willingness. And then you just kind of got to see.
Yeah.
Do we like each other?
Right,
Is this fun?
Right.
Those of us of a certain age that grew up with the stranger danger concept, I think we're still holding on to some of that. I'm going to be suspicious of this person who's weirdly friendly, even though I don't know them, instead of being open to that. Like, oh, they're trying to be my friend. Yeah. They're not being suspicious. Yeah. But, I think, some of what we were raised with, like, okay, don't talk to strangers. Don't, somebody that strikes up a conversation out of nowhere has an agenda. Like, or, maybe they're not up to no good. They're being friendly.
Right. We have to learn how to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And as we begin to trust ourselves more, we can trust others better. Yeah. And we can know when we need to have stranger danger radar on. Sometimes we need it. But I think building relationships for me, I've in recent years thought about it as I want to make friends. But in years past, the focus was on, I want to build relationships. And it was for whether for business or for work or for ministry or in the home. That was my mantra, building relationships. And as you build relationships, it forms into what it forms into, whether that's a friendship or an associate, colleague relationship, or my husband. We worked together in ministry at the church we were attending, and we were just serving together, and we would chat, and so we were colleagues, and then we realized we were friends, and then we started dating, and now he's my husband, and we have children, and he's my forever man, my forever soulmate, but that just started with building a relationship. And I think if we kind of take the pressure off of friendship, we can actually build friendships of, I now that I'm comfortable with that word of I want to make friends, it can be intimidating to others who are not in that headspace, but who may want friendship, who may cherish friendship. And so living into that idea for me of let's build relationships. Let's be intentional about building a relationship for whatever that appropriately needs to be, and it becomes what it needs to become. And so I'm grateful for that. And sometimes it doesn't become a friendship. Sometimes it just you remain colleagues, respectful and kind and available to each other in appropriate ways. And I think we need to recognize when it can't be what we hoped for it to be, but still live into it well. I think that's kind of what came to mind as we were talking, because I always want to be everybody's friend, but that's not always reciprocated.
Right.
And so that's a challenge, because once we get shut down or we feel shut down, it's hard to open up and be vulnerable again. But it's okay. Every day is a new day. Every person's a different person. Every opportunity is different. And so we just need to get back out there, as they say, and keep at it. This is probably my mom voice at this point.
No, you're good.
You shake it off and get back out there.
I like what, Kate said, mentioned about the whole stranger danger, and just thinking of how scared we are just as a society, as a culture today, and how that fear does lead us to be more guarded, more walled off. And as I think about what the world might gain from friendships and real relationships, is that safe space to be vulnerable, that safe space, even to laugh. I remember telling somebody, I think the willingness to laugh is a vulnerability, right? You have to let that comedy, that situation, that satire hit you in a way where you're able to receive it and even giggle, you know, and how good that, we all know how good that is for the soul, right? And this, if we were willing to build more relationships, or even just begin to be a little bit more vulnerable, let that person in, not all the way on the first date, right? But like, let them in a little bit, you know, receive that kind conversation that just popped up at the gym, or, you know, with your neighbor, or what, like kind of even that being open to something new. I mean, what that might do for us and all our fears and concerns. And I would argue division, right? This preconceived idea, I already know what you're about, and you're over there and I'm over here, and don't even, you know, come close. What do you see that, you know, the world today could benefit from? A willingness to make more friends, to build those real relationships.
I think the world will be just such a richer place. You named it, with tearing down those walls and the division. My friends don't all have to look like me and sound like me and do all of the same things that I do. And so when I build relationships with people outside of myself, I grow. And when I grow, I can help the next person grow. And my heart gets bigger and the world gets smaller. Building friendships and relationships with people who are in a different generation and a different culture. You just learn so much. And the biases that we have inherited, the prejudices that we don't know we have, they come to the surface in sometimes very uncomfortable ways, but we get a chance to look at them and decide, are we going to wipe them away and start over? Are we going to acknowledge them? Or are we going to bury those bad things back within ourselves and continue to hold these cultural grudges that we didn't know we had? And so when we build relationships outside of ourselves and our circles, we grow and we help the world, because we influence. We're all influencers. You're influencing someone somewhere. And so if I can help influence the next person to also put some of those prejudices and these biases and the inherent bias that we have, and the implicit bias that we have, and just know, okay, it's there. I don't want that. Let me figure out how to get that out of me. That is what friendship does. More than a class, more than a workshop, more than a conference, more than the DEI. We need all that, but friendship makes it real. Friendship makes it real.
I would agree with all of that. I think some of the biggest things I came out of seminary with were not part of the curriculum. It was the result of the conversations, whether it was interactions in class or in the hallways, after class, walking to the park, standing out in the parking lot talking because we wanted to keep the conversation going. I like the three of us, you know, being from the Houston area, being approximately the same age, but from different worlds, and learning about each other's world. And our paths may not have crossed or probably would not have crossed if it weren't for the church and the way, you know, the connection works. And now we've had a lot of overlapping life circumstances, but that having those friendships that came together from very different places has really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and illuminated things about myself, where, you know, areas where I need to grow, or just made life richer. And I think that's something we all need.
Yeah.
Get out of your neighborhood, get out of your, whether it's your age bracket, your whatever demographic, and meet other people and see what they bring.
Yeah. So. I just love what you said, Lataya, about it makes it richer. And I would just say that, being friends with both of you has made my life richer. It's made this journey richer. It made seminary richer, and it makes being a pastor, together richer as well, because we still have this, and that we continue to make an effort and be intentional and hold this relationship, sacred, and it definitely is impactful. So thank you both for that, just for being my friend and continuing to. If you would offer one step to someone to take today in the area of friendship, what would that be? Just one next step.
Set it up. Don't be shy about saying, let's have lunch. That coworker that you think could be your friend, ask when they would like to get lunch or coffee date, or if there's another mom in the neighborhood, ask if you can go on stroller walks at the same time. Whatever it is, ask for their number and set it up.
I like that.
Yeah. I like that. A bunch of things come to mind, but one thing, because time was the first thing that came out of my mouth, I'll let time be the piece here. Put it in your schedule. Schedule time that this is my friendship day. This is my friendship lunch time, where I'm going to make time to invite someone to lunch. And if I have to invite 10 someones to lunch at this window, I'm going to get someone in my time slot for friendship, so that time is not your obstacle. If we make time for what we want to make time for, so make time, schedule it, and not just once a year or once a quarter, once a week or once every 2 weeks if you can. I mean, it's lunch. You're going to eat lunch anyway, right? So make time that you put in your calendar that says, this is my friendship hour. I would recommend that for anyone struggling to make a friend. And you might have to do some cold calls. You might have to call 10 friends because you haven't been in contact as well as you would like, but do it anyway. Put in the work.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much. If people want to connect with you, want to find out more, where can they find you?
For me, they can go on social media. You can also visit LatayaSimpson.com. The church where I serve, St. Matthew's United Methodist Church, is the website for that is stmatthewsmethodist.org. You can find me at any of those places, Facebook, Instagram. I'm always around. Lataya Simpson.
All right. I'm on Facebook. Also at the church where I serve, our website, stpaulshouston.org. I preach on there about once a month. If you find our YouTube channel, and look for our Wednesday services mostly. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again, and thank you for tuning in. Once again, I want to invite you into the conversation. So please send your comments, questions, feedback regarding friendships to sheleadscomments@gmail.com. And I also am going to invite you to definitely check out the show notes. Not only will you see links to our guests, but there's also a link to the She Leads website where you can learn more about the She Leads journey, as well as buy some She Leads merch and support the She Leads project. So I hope that you'll definitely visit that and check that out. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time. She Leads is produced by me, Thea Curry-Fuson, recorded and edited by Pearland Podcast Studios. All thoughts and expressions shared by the guests are theirs and not the organizations they're affiliated with. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out next week to continue the conversation on She Leads.